supporting him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very possibly. Let's get a voice note from John.
Mike, good morning. John from Angus here. Starmer keeps on saying, oh, it's the £3 million of relief on it. Fine if you're married. A lot of farmers are not married, so we don't get that. It's out and out lie what he's traipsing out. I wish he'd stop it. Keep up the good work. John from Angus.
John from Angus, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, this is the trouble. You know, we have a government and a series of politicians, cabinet ministers, etc., and indeed the leader of the nation, supposedly, who just out and out tell lies about what it is that is available, what it is that is being done, what it is that they're going to do, what it is that they want to do. You can't believe a word they say. Let's talk to John, who's in Burnley. Hello, John.
Hiya, good morning, mate.
Morning, sir. What can I do for you?
Yeah, we just listened to some of you talking this morning on the Jaguar.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, Mike, for a simple reason is they keep pandering to this small, modern audience, this woke DEI. So it's like you look at the Bud Light, and then you look at that nearly went under. Then you look at the what was that big tractor place called in America? What's out to do it?
Was it John Deere or somebody like that?
That's that, yeah. Right. They nearly went bust, so they had to backtrack. It's just endless, and I know this is going off track a bit, but I'm a massive gamer, so they've even tried to put this DEI and wokeness into the game industry as well. Yeah, it's massively widespread, this, Mike. But what we
how do you get DEI into Grand Theft Auto?
Because what they're doing, they put in pronouns and they're letting you sort of choose things like transgender and stuff.
Really?
Like that. I kid you not.
That surprises me. That really surprises me.
It's massive. So what we've all done now, but you know how much this the money what goes into gaming? It's billions,
yeah,
mate.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, so what all the gamers are doing now, all over the world, everyone, it don't matter how good that game is, if it's got any pronouns or any woke in it, everybody's rejecting it. We will not buy that game.
Good for you.
And they're all starting to, one by one now, they're all starting to fail.
Right.
So this modern audience, what they keep going, there isn't one, Mike. I don't know where they keep thinking this big audience is.
No, I know. But it's a bit like, Steve Berry was saying, on the one hand, they're reacting to people who are more woke and more modern and all that. But at the same time, he's going, they're going to sell it for the super rich, £200,000 a piece. Well, the super rich, as far as I know, are not particularly woke.
No, I know. This is what I mean. They keep thinking there's this enormous crowd of woke DAR people, and there's not. And these companies keep proving that, keep going under every time they're trying to do it. So, it's bonkers.
No, it's absolutely bonkers, and it's not going to work. And I think Jaguar have messed up from the beginning, from quite a long time ago, actually. But interesting what you say there, John, about the gaming business, because if you're a gamer, one of the things that most people I know who are gamers is they take it pretty seriously. They spend a lot of time doing it. They very much enjoy it, and it's very much part of their life. And what they don't need is people telling them to be more woke and to have pronouns. And Grand Theft Auto is a game where you basically shoot people and run people over. What, you only want to run them over if they got the right pronouns? That's ridiculous. Morning, Mike, says Lynn in Essex. The reason Sir Keir was so surprised by the lights coming on Downing Street Tree was because he's fast-forwarding to net zero when we won't have any electricity. McKee says, Mike, loving the Thunderbirds theme this morning. Starmer's countdown and Jaguar unveiling Lady Penelope's car. You wouldn't be surprised to see Lady Starmer getting into one of those, would you? Rob says this from Dorset. I think after witnessing Keir Starmer's infectious Christmas lights switch on, we need to start adding Christmas cheer alongside two-tier, free gear and never hear Keir. Good point. Well done. Andy on Jaguar.
Hi, Mike. Andy from Surrey here. I'm a bit outraged that the Jaguar advert shows a blue car and a pink car, implying that there are only two genders. Surely it should be a bloody rainbow.
Absolutely right. Well, funnily enough, a friend of mine who's got a Jaguar keeps getting the mickey taken out of him by all of his friends, going, "And when are you going to get the rainbow seats put in? What do you mean you've only got black seats, black leather? Absolutely not. What you need is a rainbow car. That's what you need. That's what represents Britain. Seriously, this is talk."
I think this might be for you.
You at the heart.
latest on the ground.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world.
Stalking victims who will now get the right to learn the name of the person harassing them under new measures announced by the government. Let's get more. Joining us is broadcaster and actress Nicola Thorpe, who was stalked for 2 years before her stalker was arrested and jailed last year. Nicola, it's good to see you. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Tell me what it's like when you're being stalked.
Well, for me, it was extremely difficult for the first 2 years because this man created almost 30 different online profiles to stalk and harass me. So for a while, it took me 6 months or so to realise it was actually the same individual. But the most difficult point came when I was told by the police that he'd actually been arrested. They identified who he was. And after those 2 years, I kind of breathed a sigh of relief and thought, fantastic, who is he? This mystery man who's made my life miserable. And they said, well, we can't tell you. They couldn't tell me whether it was somebody that I knew, somebody that I used to know, a colleague, or even an ex-partner. And I think that was the point at which I became more paranoid and more upset. And that's why I've campaigned for the past year and a half to get victims the right to know the identity of their online stalker.
And that's now changed, hasn't it? Or it will change?
It has indeed, yes. No, it's going to be changing later on today. So the Home Office have announced 6 new measures to help support victims of stalking, one of which is the right to know. So yes, I'm absolutely delighted with the work that the Home Office has done on this.
Have you found out who your stalker was?
Yes, I did. I found out in, sadly, an unconventional way. I found out his name when I went to court for a stalking protection order against him. And actually the first time that I came face to face with him, the first time that I saw what this man who terrorised me for so long looked like, was when I went to court to read out my victim impact statement. As many people know, when you go to court, you go through a kind of airport style security system, and he was the man in front of me. I heard him say his name to the security guard and I just froze. I finally got to know what this man actually looked like in the worst possible setting, and ended up having to sit with him in a waiting room for half an hour before our court session began. So yeah, it was terrifying and upsetting, and not something that any victim of stalking should have to go through.
What was his problem? I mean, what was his beef, this unimpressive man?
Beef.
I mean, do you know what? Stalking is different for so many victims. There are no two similar cases, which is why I've got so much sympathy for police officers who might often find it quite difficult to charge or investigate. With my stalker, I still don't know, other than I know that he had a lot of mental health issues. I really don't know why he singled me out. I have a feeling it's because I'm a women's rights activist. This is something that he mentioned in the slew of online misogynistic messages that he sent to me, but no two cases are the same. But I would say that a theme that seems to join all stalking situations, not just women being victims, of course, but men too, although women are the majority of victims. I think it's about power. I think there's something, particularly with online stalking, where they have that, or used to have that air of anonymity. I think people felt perhaps they finally got some power or some control in their lives. Perhaps they weren't happy with the lives that they're leading. And I'm so glad that as of today, that power is now back in the hands of the victims.
As it should be. Stalking protection orders, can you tell me about those?
Yes, they're going to be more widely available. So, for example, if a stalking protection order wasn't given to somebody before their stalker was convicted, that stalking protection order can now be put in place, because believe it or not, some stalkers, including a man who stalked Jess Phillips, the minister who's been at the forefront of this campaign, from prison, because there were no protections for her whilst her stalker was actually in prison. That is now going to change. And also, if somebody suspected of stalking has actually been acquitted, but there still is considered to be a risk to a victim, a stalking protection order can be taken out.
Okay, and just to go back to your stalker, who apparently on occasion called himself the Grim Reaper, he's now in prison, isn't he?
That's right. yes, he's serving a 30-month sentence in prison and will be part of a rehabilitation programme, thank goodness, because I don't know about other victims, but for me, it wasn't necessarily about a prison sentence, although that is important, of course, as a form of punishment and a deterrent. But I really want to make sure that people who are taking part in these kinds of behaviours speak to professionals and go through some evidence-based learning and programmes that mean that they are less likely to partake in this behaviour in the future. But yeah, I am glad to say that he is serving a prison sentence at the moment.
That's very gracious of you to have that view, Nicola. But how are you doing now?
Shaken.
I'm good. I mean, it's nice to talk about this with a positive light. You know, I've been campaigning for this over 18 months now, and I constantly feel like I'm having to bang down doors, etc. But it's really lovely to now know that these doors have just been opened and people have gone, do you know what, this is ridiculous. And it's not just about me and my case. This is about thousands of people. In fact, 1.5 million people in the UK have been victims of stalking, and it's all about making some change for them, letting them know that the police will take you seriously, they will be on your side, and by order of the Home Secretary herself, will give victims the right to know that anonymous person who thinks that they have power over your life because they hide behind a keyboard, well, they can't hide anymore.
Yeah, I would never bet against people if they've got Jess Phillips in their corner. That's for sure. It's good to see you.
Absolutely not. Lovely to see you, and thank you for covering the story.
Take care. Thank you. Thanks very much. Still to come on The Breakfast Show for you here on Sky News. We go live to Brussels, where the new NATO Secretary General, that's Mark Rutte, of course, will be speaking with Ukraine. High on the agenda.